Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mullooly Matters podcast. I'm here in Brussels, this time with a very special guest group from independent Ireland, visiting the Parliament and joining me on this podcast to talk about important matters, not just here in Brussels, but more importantly at home. I'm going to let themselves introduce themselves firstly.
Hi, I'm Madeleine Webster. I'm the General Manager of the Beef Plan Movement. So obviously it's been a crazy visit.
Hi, I'm Ken O'Flynn, TD for Cork North Central.
Hi, I'm Eddie Punch. I was the Independent Ireland candidate in the European Parliament elections in 2024 in the Ireland South constituency.
I'm Anna O'Sullivan-Cronin and I'm the new rep for Cork North West in Cork.
And I'm Cllr Chris Maxwell from Louisburgh, County Mayo, Independent Ireland Councillor.
The new kids on the block of Independent Ireland are my guest on this special podcast. We're going to take a little trip across the country, up and down Ireland, around to the big issues around Europe as well over the course of the next half an hour or so. I hope you enjoy some of the issues we're touching. Anne-Marie, I'm going to start with you. Anna O'Sullivan-Cronin, you're from the southern half of the country, and I know regeneration of farming is one of the big issues. The new generation of farmers is something you're interested in.
Yes, it is, Ciaran. It's a huge issue down our way because, unfortunately, people aren't going into farming anymore. And one of the biggest issues, I think, that's stopping people going in is inheritance tax would be one. But then it's simple things like planning, to be able to build on their own family farm and get their house, and then farm the land. And that's causing awful problems. And then there's just no initiatives for people to go into farming. There's nothing given to them to entice them back into the land and work there. And even the simple thing like a trade, there's nothing there to encourage them to go in. And agricultural college is going down. There's people not applying to go to agricultural college or anything like that at the moment.
It's a huge issue, and here in the Parliament is something that it drives me nuts because they have this great phrase, the right to stay. You might have heard it in your visit to the Parliament this week. And, sometimes it's just a saying. It's a cliche, and there's nothing to back it up.
Yes.
And when you go down there and you apply for planning permission on your dad's land or your mum's land and you don't get the planning permission, right to stay is a bit hollow at that stage, isn't it?
It's very hollow. And not only that, the process is so complex and so hard. I mean, you will start and they'll say, well, we'll go with this and we'll do this plan. And for even us, it took us 8 planning permissions, and that was 22 years ago, to get planning. And it's just so difficult, and it's expensive. And then they want percolation tests. They'll get you to do everything. And then after all that, then you're told no. And then what people are doing is getting jobs in the city, moving off or immigrating. It's very sad, actually.
I'm delighted to welcome Ken O'Flynn, Tuck the Dáil for Independent Ireland, Cork North Central. And we've been talking, Ken, this week in Brussels about something close to your heart. That's the way we fail to protect whistleblowers in Ireland.
Well, Ciaran, first of all, can I thank you for the invitation out here to Brussels. I'm delighted to meet with you. And thank you for setting up so many meetings for me here. Not just talking with whistleblowers and talking about whistleblowers, but also talking about the River Blackwater and issues that are affecting us. I think probably sometimes people think that Europe is very, very far away and doesn't really affect my life. It affects every part of our lives, from A to Z, from when you get up in the morning to when you go to bed at night. Everything is dictated or is seen to be part of Europe and a bigger picture. And I think we don't get that at times, or we don't join the dots. But look, I suppose really, I was the only TD in Leinster House to put in a petition here to the European Parliament regarding whistleblowers and strengthening international and European international whistleblower law. We've seen legislation come in through the last number of years through the Oireachtas. Some of the legislation was taken out at the last minute, which caused a serious amount of problems that don't give the protection or the rights to the whistleblowers that need to be done. Ciaran, you know as well as I do the amount of whistleblowers that we've met over the last number of years, whether they're from the prison service on Garda Síochána, TUSLA in particular, and those particular organisations that have a lot of questions to answer and a lot of whistles to be blown. We have to protect those people. We have to ensure that those people have the right to come forward, feel comfortable coming forward, but not only are coming forward, but are not penalised, are not screwed over and not silenced. And a big problem with the whistleblowing laws and protection laws here in Ireland at the moment is that they're not corresponding to European legislation. And I give you what shocked me was 50% of all the submissions put through to whistleblowing laws in the last 2 months here in Europe came from the Irish population. So there's something seriously and radically wrong with how whistleblowers are still being treated in Ireland. Of course we have we have Maurice McCabe. Of course we have some success stories in whistleblowing. But I think the reality is that there's a number of people and there's a number of stories that are being covered up, that there's bullying still going on in various organisations, that the hard fist and the betrayal of trust and the protections are just not there for people. And I've met people from banking inquiries all the way over to the prison services that just feel that they were let down by the state, and it continues to happen. And we have to ensure that Ireland is up to date, and Ireland is at the races when it comes to whistleblowing. And I don't understand why government is pushing behind and still lagging behind and not protecting the whistleblower. Because we have a problem in the Irish government where a scandal is broken, whether it's in CHI, whether it's in TUSLA, whether it's in the prison services, the Garda Síochána. And you see these problems being broken, and you know, we get the usual thing from the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach, the wringing of the hands and saying we must learn from our mistakes. We must learn from our mistakes and this must never happen again. But it's happening over and over and over again. And look, I would say to you, thank you so much for setting up those meetings for me today, and it's been very insightful. And we did bring a large delegation of whistleblowers as well to the European Union here, and MEPs heard firsthand what they're going through, and thank you for that.
Well, it's something we're going to continue to focus on. We raised it today with Sandra Goes from the European Democratic Party, and it's a topic we're going to follow up now. And Madeline's there beside you, and she's with us. Great to see you in the flesh, for starters. We've talked so many times over the last, and texted so many times over the last year about the beef plan and about the problems of farming and about emissions and all these type of issues. You come to Brussels. What do you think of what you saw and what you heard this week?
Really interesting. I think that there is a problem, and I found one panel today very, very interesting in terms of talking about we have 14 MEPs in Europe, and a lot of times we're electing MEPs, and we often say in the community, they went to Brussels, we never heard another thing, and there's notable examples of exactly this thing. I want to say a huge thank you to you for having and maintaining that focus on agriculture and for keeping your promise. And I think this is a huge thing for the farming community. They do feel betrayed and let down, and there are problems with emission figures. This is now in the programme for government that we're going to straighten out, you know, the issues with the calculation of methane emissions from livestock. But we're carrying on with the process of introducing a tax, you know, that's sort of started in Denmark already. We're anticipating it spreading this way. So will the Irish government implement a tax on Irish farmers, on livestock emissions, on figures that they know are wrong? And if so, how could that be lawful? How could that be justifiable? And
in some respects, you're a bit like the whistleblowers. You've been crying out and blowing the whistle on this for quite a while, yet taking it on, proving it, and getting support for you for your independence was not easy. No,
it wasn't easy, but it is in the programme for government. And I have to say, Philip Boucher-Hayes had a programme with Professor Peter Thorne from the Maynooth University. He's part of the Climate Change Advisory Council, and he seemed outraged that not only is it in the programme for government, but it's in there 3 times. And I took a little bow to myself silently in the kitchen with my little mug of coffee. But, I mean, it can be done. But you do need to speak up. You need to do the research. You need to have your facts and figures. And you need to understand that you are going to be vilified and shouted at, and be all right about it. I'm tired of being called names. And so
well, it's a terrible way to be, though, isn't it? It's a terrible situation to find yourself in.
It is, because you can't ask everybody to do it. I was luckily in a position where I'm not going to be fired for speaking up. Lots of people are in those positions. And we have huge issues with facts and figures in this country. As you say, it's a notable statistic to say that 50% of those came from Ireland. We also have issues with data that we don't collect. We all know that we don't collect it. The citizenship look around and say, why don't we have these figures? And
it's deliberate.
It is absolutely deliberate.
You have to think there's a big cover-up in so many different areas there, you know?
Well, it's just we are going to proceed with the policy that we're going to proceed with. The fact that you don't like it is not going to stop us doing it. But we would prefer if you didn't get upset about it. So we're just going to lie to you. So now we have the 3 M's. We have the disinformation, the misinformation, and the malinformation. And the malinformation shocks me. It is information that is true, but nonetheless, we'd rather you didn't say. And so now we look at the proliferation of speech laws and how all of that is going to be policed going forward. And I wonder if I were to take to the Twitter machine, for example, to say the figures that we have on many things. Water quality data also carries some question marks that remain unanswered, although more digging is yet to be done. If you are to say those figures are wrong, are we going to lose the derogation on the basis of water quality figures that later proved to not be correct? We introduced the nature restoration laws from here, justified on emissions from peatlands that were later proven to be absolutely, incredibly,
totally
200
inaccurate.
and something percent. Eddie would be able to tell me the figure there. And maddeningly, the week after the nature restoration passed, locked in, it's done deal, the EPA put out a press release to say, "Ooh, we got those figures wrong." And I had to quietly go away and shout into a vacuum lest I be removed from, polite society. It is maddening what's happening, and people are getting increasingly angry. And I would encourage, after the experience here a couple of days, I would encourage them to start engaging more. It is very clear to me that we are sitting over here not knowing what's going on in Europe, waiting till it comes to our door and it's on fire and it's too late.
Well,
we need to engage earlier in the process.
You hit the nail on the hammer on the nail. Is that the phrase? You hit the
Nail on the hammer.
the nail on the
Nail on the head.
Nail on the head.
Nail on the head. When I came out here, it was Michael Fitzmaurice who said to me, "I want you out there to let me know what's coming down the line." That's what it was. Eddie Punch. I mean, one of the things, and Michael Fitzmaurice like myself, on a daily basis, he feels that things are changing in Brussels. He says they're faceless European Democrats. That's his favourite phrase. And here we are again today, or this week, as you visit the Parliament, listening to language again being talked about, that the cap really is proposed are not really as bad as we thought they were, because now they're going to divert 10% of the funds to the new rural target area, which people are suggesting could have been the Pillar 2 funding we lost out a few weeks ago. You believe in this story?
Thanks, Ciaran, for having me here. And I think it's really important that every opportunity is taken to speak out for what matters to us in Ireland, but also what matters to European agriculture as a whole. And I say that because facts are important. Since 2016, we've lost over 1 million farmers in the European Union. That's 12% of total. And that's really critical because food security matters. And I remember being here over the period of the Green Deal, where food security there was a complacency about food security. And as we've seen, there was also complacency with energy security, but the Russian invasion of Ukraine has proven the short-sightedness of that policy. But food security is equally important. So we now have a cap budget, a proposal for 300 billion over the 7-year period, which sounds like a lot of money, but the facts are it's a 22% reduction on the previous period. It's 87 billion euros less in the proposal. And there needs to be huge pushback against that, both from the members of the European Parliament and from the member state governments. If we are serious about food security, if we are serious about having quality food on the tables of EU citizens. And I'm a little bit concerned about what I've heard here this week in Brussels about what I would call a sleight of hand, a proposal from the Commission to give an extra 10%. I've had some discussions with Farm Europe who've examined this carefully, and they're absolutely adamant that this is a drop in the ocean of what is required. Because let's face facts. If your proposal is a 300 billion euro cap budget, which is now 15%, just 15% of the total EU funding proposal for the period from 27 onwards. So they're proposing 2,000 billion euros. Farming is just getting 15% of that, even though this is central to food security. It's central to, I suppose, everything that the European Union is about. And it seems to me that this proposal forgets the original foundation pillars of the Treaty of Rome, that we want a common agricultural policy to ensure a good supply of quality food at a fair price to consumers. And fair price to consumers is important. If we keep losing farmers how do consumers expect to get quality food at a fair price? And at the same time, a reasonable standard of living for the farmers who work so hard to produce that food. So I think increasingly there's a sense of urgency and a sense of concern I would have that we need people like you, Ciaran, and everybody else to speak up in the European Parliament about, are we serious about having viable farming and viable food production in our 27 member states going forward?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head at the very end where you said we need that voice to come up. Sometimes when I go into Committee of Agriculture meetings and I say something, I get a feel as if they're all saying, you know, oh God, he's after saying that. Why is he critical of that? As if it should be covered up here. You know, Hansen, the Agriculture Commissioner, once attacked me after a meeting about something I put on Twitter, criticising policy. And I said, but that's my job. I mean, just because it's the official commission line and just because the two main parties in Ireland agree with you, doesn't mean I agree with you. I represent farmers in different circumstances right across my constituency. And I say them, Chris Maxwell is here from Mayo right beside me, represent your farmers as well. But I know coming to Brussels, you've had a couple of other issues on your mind, including the greenways and what they've been trying to do in terms of develop greenways in your part of Ireland.
Yeah, and in relation to the greenways, tourism is a massive in the west of Ireland. It's one of the mainstays along with agriculture. We want a greenway all the way from Westport to Runea Harbour and onto the islands. Now, 10 years ago, that was being promoted by Mayo County Council. They brought it as far as Murrisk. Then there was a problem with funding. Project was stalled. And now TII are in control of providing and delivering the greenways. What TII are proposing to do now is build a whole brand new greenway right up across Cllr through a pristine environment and up across the side of Croagh or Holy Mountain. Absolute madness from my point of view and from all people, farmers and everything involved in it. It is causing mayhem at the minute there. And TII, all they need to do is deviate from their standards, continue that greenway from where it finished, what Mayo County Council were delivering and everyone was happy with. TII, their standards, they won't deviate from their standards and allow that to continue. I think it's an absolute waste of good taxpayers' money, what they're proposing to do. Our road from Louisburg to Westport is in a disastrous state, and thankfully Mayo County Council last week started a repair job on that. They're doing 2 to 3 kilometres this year and going to continue it on.
Why are they persisting with it, Chris? Why are they persisting with this design when they're being told by local farmers the chaos it will cause?
Because they're faceless bureaucrats, that's what I call them. It's a disaster. I think they should be taken to task. Even the Taoiseach of the day said that what they're doing, they have to be taken into account and deviate from their standards. It's causing mayhem in rural Ireland, and it's not alone in Mayo. It's up and down the whole countryside. Kerry, Cork, Louth, everywhere is being harassed, I would call it, by TII. Yeah. I'm afraid it's a disaster. But in relation to the reason why I came out here on the last day or two was I was on a mission to see could I solve a major problem that has arisen in the harbour in Runea. It's a tiny harbour that services our 2 islands, Inishturk and Cllr Island, from Louisburg.
I was there myself. It's a windy spot. If you're trying to get on a boat and go out to as 200 people do on a regular basis.
Yes,
over 200 people living out there.
And loads of tourists go all year round. What I must compliment Dara Cllr, our Minister for Rural Affairs. He understands that Runea needs a major upgrade, and he has committed 157,000 to a feasibility study to enhance Runea Harbour in going forward. I know it'll take time. It'll take, who knows, 5 years, maybe, we don't know. It's down to funding. But last week, a major emergency happened on that harbour. Erosion is causing the harbour to come apart in the middle. And I knew the only way if that isn't solved, island life will be totally disrupted. I mean, it'll
be cut off.
It'll be cut off. It can't be allowed to happen. Now they're already down to 1 boat can only come in now. At one time, 2 boats could come in and dock in the harbour. Now only 1 can come in. It's a situation that is very serious. And I thought to myself, the best way to solve this is, I know Mayo County Council is in control, but I mean, Mayo County Council hasn't money to cut the hedges, maintain our roads, our LIS funding, no funding for LIS roads, total disaster. I said to myself, the only way to solve this, it needs to be solved immediately, is, and that's why I rang you, to see could we get money in Europe to facilitate Mayo County Council to get that job done immediately.
And so during your visit to Brussels, you opted out of the Parliament here and went across the Berlaymont to Madame von der Leyen's kingdom and made your way into the office of the person responsible for the RFF, which now for the first time has been asked to support funding in Ireland. And
Yes.
she told you the money was there.
Yes, we had a fantastic meeting, and I want to compliment you and your staff for facilitating that meeting for me. We met with Maria Teresa Fabergas, lovely woman, and she has a fund there. It's called the Recovery and Resilience Facility for emergencies. And one of the reasons why I decided to come here was last winter we had Storm Owen, and fair play to you, you got delivery of a number of generators to Ireland that were badly needed because villages and towns and everything were without power for ages. And I thought to myself, Mayo County Council National money, I said, let's go where the money is and where the capability is to get the job sorted.
Yes.
And fair play to you.
Yep.
We have come away today and I'm very happy with the result of that meeting.
That's what
Could
we're
I
here
just
for.
say on
Go
that,
ahead.
Ciaran, I'm very jealous because Chris Maxwell came out here and he's come back with a bundle of money back to Mayo. In fairness to you, I'm very jealous that I want a meeting with that lady tomorrow.
It's very hard to stop a man like Chris Maxwell. Sorry, we're coming towards the end.
Well, fair play to you, Chris.
At the end
Well
of these, at the end of these podcasts, we've tended to lighten the tone just a little bit and ask people about some of their favourite things. So I'm going to go right through the panel, starting with Natalie. We start normally with their favourite food. It's only a 2 or 3 sentence reply, please.
Steak.
Steak it is. Ken.
It has to be steak. I think
we're-
it's
to be steak.
it has
We're
to be
not
steak.
battering you all into supporting Irish beef. Eddie.
Well, you know, I'm a great advocate for steak, and you know.
Do you know how far he made us walk last night in pursuit of steak?
But you know, I think, you know, we have to take a European perspective here and compliment the Belgians on their beer.
There you go. We got around to say favourite drink yet. But Anna, what about
Yeah,
yourself?
Cheese.
Irish steak.
And Chris.
A good feed of wild salmon and a few spuds
Good
thrown
man,
in with
looking
it.
after it. We'll start you going back on it on the next one again. But your favourite music, Chris? Musical or artist or performer now?
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen was. Anna?
I'm country music. I love jiving and waltzing. Rural Ireland.
Eddie?
I like blues sessions in European bars.
Ken, it has to be jazz in Cork, has it?
Fortunately, it's not. I grew up in a family of grand opera, so Montserrat Caballé would be,
Very nice.
you know, would be my ultimate favourite, or Marilla Franey or something like that. But I love everything. If you go to the car and you turn on the Spotify, you don't know what. It's from Guns N' Roses to grand opera.
Oh, very nice. And that'll surprise me again down there now. It's your favourite music.
Very old school, I'm afraid. It is Guns N' Roses, Metallica,
Roses.
That's not old
AC/DC.
school. Jesus, you're only a young one, so.
Well,
Very good.
you
And
see.
the final question for you all is a bit boring. Favourite sport, Chris, if there is one in your life?
Yeah, I like to watch a good game, GA football.
Football man.
Yeah.
Anna?
Yeah, probably the ladies' football is getting very popular, so it's lovely to see that coming, you know, getting strong, and two of my girls are playing.
Eddie, you're probably a cricket man, eh? You're probably a cricket man, eh? And Claire. you have
Number
to be.
one, Cllr hurling, number one.
Or lacrosse.
Yeah, that's right. No, Cllr hurling, number one. Munster rugby, number two. Liverpool soccer, number three. But with Liverpool soccer and Munster rugby, there have been better
Yes,
years.
it'd be better days. Try being a Man
But
United fan like me,
Munster
Eddie.
is coming back again. So
You're on the way
we'll see.
back.
Maybe.
Ken, what's the sport you watch or pursue or look
Well,
at on
you
TV
see,
otherwise?
there you go. You see, when you come from Cork, we're multi-talented. Whether it's the hurling, the home of the hurling, and I'm a great Glen Rovers man, as you know. Whether it's Munster rugby, which I love to follow, or you have the sailing as well. Sailing is huge in Cork as well. But we have such many disciplines in Cork, and we have so many people that we're so proud of, from Sonia O'Sullivan to everyone that's there in Cork, Joan Logue, the whole lot.
You got good support. Madeline, to finish, what's your favourite sport?
I'd love
Or do
to
you follow
make you
sport? Some
guess.
people don't follow sport at all.
You see, he just immediately assumes I'm a non-sporting person.
I think carriage racing.
Equestrian sports of all kinds, yeah.
Very good, very good. Well,
Yeah,
we're very
yeah.
lucky. We have another man with us this week. We're going to hear from him on a separate broadcast,
Yeah.
who has a particular interest on equestrian sports. That's Bill Cllr, our Independent Ireland councillor in Cllr. I'll be speaking to him on a forthcoming podcast. But for this particular broadcast, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your visit
Thank you.
to Brussels.
Thank you so much.
And as I say, safe journey home, and look forward to meeting you all again. again back in Ireland over the coming weeks and the coming months.
And
Thank
Ciaran,
you for joining us all.
Can I just say to you, thank you for facilitating so many
thank you.
meetings,
Yeah.
not just for me as a TD, but also for our local councillors, for our reps, and in particular, the amount of offices you got us into and the amount of doors that you opened for us. And it's not every
Crazy,
MEP
yeah.
will do that. In particular, an MEP, not in my constituency, who doesn't serve my constituency, but I have to say, you know, you've been a great shining example to what MEPs really do, the work that they put in, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you all. And thanks to the team in the office, to John Harkin, to Donald McAteer, to Owen McArdle, and Pat O'Rourke, who'll be filling in as well this week for everybody. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. Look forward to talking to you again very soon.